Hello, vinyl community. Broke on Records back again. Here today to talk about some of my favorite metal albums on vinyl. Metal has sort of overtaken my vinyl collection over the last few years. As I've talked about before, my collection is organized by genre and style. And it used to be what happened was the entire top row was punk and hardcore. And then the second row was hair metal, hard rock, glam, and then all other types of metal after that. And what I've since done to help maximize some space, because there's a lot of hardcore that kind of crossed over to metal, punk hardcore starts at cube 3 and goes on, and then I moved some of the more metal-leaning hardcore stuff into metal, just so I don't have to think about it. And now the entire second row, all 7 cubes, is all metal or metal-adjacent music. Part of the reason I love metal, other than just because it's the sickest shit on the planet, is because it's the first music that was really mine. I've talked about it probably many times before, but my parents were very hip music people, and they listened to a lot of different stuff, and they got me to a lot of different music, but they weren't into any extreme metal. The heaviest things that they were into were like Nine Inch Nails, Ministry, Black Sabbath, things like that. But when it came to black metal, doom, sludge, underground thrash, things like that, that was all me. It was all my own path. So I feel a strong kinship to metal, especially the metal albums that I grew up with in the 2000s and early 2010s, a lot of which will be featured in this video. And there's very little classic heavy metal in this video. There's a couple, but I'm sure I could do a part 2 to this video. But for now, I'm just going to talk about, I pulled 15 records, which I don't know if my phone will allow me to talk about 15 records, which means I should not waste any more time. So I picked kind of nostalgic-ish records, but records that I really love, records that are special to me on vinyl. This is sort of a precursor to tomorrow's video, which you'll see when it goes up. So, in alphabetical order, starting off with the Atlas Moth. This is An Ache for the Distance. This is released, I believe, in 2009, maybe 2010. Chicago sludge metal band. They're very psychedelic. They call themselves Dream Sludge. Super cool, unique band. Obviously, I have sort of a hometown pride with them as well. But they're so cool. Really interesting music. I like when the sludge metal and doom kind of has a bit of a prog psychedelic throwback to it, and Atlas Moth does that very well. I think they do it the best on this record. Really important band and record to me. I've become somewhat friends with the main dude, Stavros from Atlas Moth, and they're back this year touring for the first time in a very long time, and I'm very excited. So I would highly recommend checking out this record. This 7-inch I threw in here, this is their split with Ken Mode that came out around the same time, if not a little bit afterwards. Next up, Blind Guardian, At the Edge of Time. I've talked about on the channel before, Nuclear Blast is tapping into this era of their label that is really important to me when I started finding out about extreme metal and following labels like Nuclear Blast on Century Media. They've been reissuing a lot of those albums from that time period on vinyl, and this is absolutely one of them. Blind Guardian, I believe, are Swedish or maybe German. I don't totally remember off the top of my head, but Norwegian maybe. Blind Guardian plays power metal. I like power metal in small doses. The power, the folk, the nerd metal. I really like what I like, and some of it is just a little too much for me. But Blind Guardian, I think, does the absolute best. I don't give a fuck about Lord of the Rings. I think that shit sucks and is boring. But you put it behind a Blind Guardian record, and I'm all in, baby. This is an amazing, powerful, just epic album. I think one of the things that really draws me to them is their orchestration mixed with their metal. I mean, they don't put out a lot of albums because you can tell they put in a ton of fucking work into composing and orchestrating these albums. They're really, really, really cool. I can't recommend this enough. I would say this is maybe one of the more popular records, but they have a lot of stuff from the 90s and the 2000s that people really like as well. I pulled so much color vinyl. It's going to take too much time to show it, so I don't think I'll show the color vinyl on this. But anyway, love that album. Really important to me. The only Blind Guardian I feel like I need on vinyl, but there's a couple other ones that I've seen that I maybe will pick up if the time is right. Next up, this is, holy shit, breaking all my favorite records. This is Bong Ripper with Satan Worshipping Doom, another Chicago band, another Chicago doom and sludge band. There'll be more of that to come in this video, certainly. Man, this record just blew me away when I first heard it. I don't know if I heard this before Dope Smoker, but like, this was one of the earliest bands that kind of hit into that drone metal thing that really made sense to me for one reason or another. I used to own a really cool first pressing of this. This is not the first press, this is the more recent reissue, but this one comes in a nice gatefold sleeve, which the original did not. But yeah, I mean, if you like Sun, if you like Dope Smoker and Earth and anything heavy and satanic, Bong Ripper is your band. Don't be averse to the name. The name is sort of intentionally ridiculous, but they have a lot of amazing, great doom metal albums, and this is one of them. I debated on which album I was going to pull from this band, but I think this is probably some of the most metal this band ever got. So this is Clutch, Transnational Speedway League. What a special fucking record. I've talked about this album and this band to death on this channel before. But this record, I think, is so deeply interesting, and there's not another band that sounds like it. This early kind of hardcore, sludgier period of Clutch, I think, is just amazing. This record is so heavy. It's one of the most aggressive things I've ever heard. I just absolutely love it. But Clutch was one of the first ever stoner bands I ever got into, and they've remained one of my all-time favorite bands to this day. A crucial band in getting me into heavier metal, extreme music. As was this band and this album. This is Converge with Axe to Fall. This is my top 10 albums of all time. This record fundamentally changed my life when I heard it when it came out. Another one of my all-time favorite bands, and I'll have more to talk about them tomorrow. But yeah, Converge, man, is just very special, very chaotic, metallic hardcore band. This record, I think, is an absolute masterpiece if you are into heavy and aggressive music and are looking for something a little bit more challenging, a little bit more heady, a little bit more just grinding, fucking unrelenting pace of music. Converge is your band, and this record is just unbelievable. I can't recommend it enough. Crowbar, Sever the Wicked Hand. Most days, this is my favorite Crowbar record, because it was their first record in like 6 or 8 years or something, and might have been my introduction to Crowbar. I can't totally remember, but I remember when this record came out, man. I had the CD. I played the CD of this to death when it originally came out. This is from 2011, I believe. The Converge is from 2009. The Clutch is 95, I think. 94, 93. Clutch is 93, I believe. Bong Ripper was 2010. The Blind Guardian, I think, is also 2010. 2009, maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, Crowbar, foundational Gnarland sludge metal band. They have just a whole catalog worth of amazing records. I would recommend every single one. But this one is super heavy. The song fucking Let Me Mourn has one of the craziest riffs ever. Kirk Winstein, just an absolute riff fucking master. One of a kind for sure. Please hold. No edits, baby. No edits. Got fucking shit in the oven. Okay. I'm not letting my house burn down for records. Good God. Anyway, Earth, The Beast Made Honey, The Lion's Skull, also in my top 10 albums of all time, also in my top 10 bands of all time, and a record I've talked about a million fucking times on this channel because I love it so much. Okay, anyway, this is my very special first press that I do not play. I have a play copy that came from the reissue series that came out probably 10 years or so after this came out. But this is another thing where it's just like, when I heard this, I had never heard any music like this ever. And still, this kind of drone country thing that Earth has built their empire on in the last handful of years. You know, the drone, heavier Doom stuff from the early years, I love that shit too, but this is just a magnificent masterpiece of an album. If you haven't heard it, again, and if you haven't heard this and you're not into metal, this is barely a metal record. You know, there's metallic things about it, there's heavy moments to it. Earth started as a metal band, but you can be into this if you're into psychedelic rock, if you're into country, if you're into ambient music. You know, just an absolute masterpiece of a guitar album, and just some of the most beautiful music ever made, in my opinion. Ooh, I should have pulled Shadows Fall, but I didn't. But instead of talking about Shadows Fall, let's talk about God Forbid. Some of you may be familiar with the band Bad Wolves. Doc Coyle, who was one of the founders of this band, is in Bad Wolves. Bad Wolves is a bad and boring, shitty-ass band, but God Forbid was not. God Forbid kicked so much ass. And this record, Constitution of Treason, from probably 2005, is an absolute ripper of a record. They call this the new wave of American heavy metal. It was basically a bunch of bands in the 2000s that were kind of doing melodic thrash and was sort of cleaner. You know, some of these bands had really like operatic, like fucking clean vocals, like I'll talk about in a minute here with another band, but really underrated band, underrated record. I was so happy when M Theory started doing the reissue campaign for the God Forbid albums. They only have one left to do. I'm very, very excited. This is from 2008, I believe. This is Harvey Milk with Life, the Best Game in Town. This is an Athens, Georgia band, and Harvey Milk makes some of the most twisted, emotionally crushing, depressive sludge metal you will ever hear. They are a very interesting band. They are a very difficult band to listen to and get into, but if you are into the more challenging ends of experimental metal, look no further than Harvey Milk and this album. They've always had kind of a tongue-in-cheek quality to their music. It's, like I said, it's very rough. It is very, very, very rough music. There's so much pain in this fucking music. It's hard for me to even listen to at times, some of their stuff. But this album is a sludge masterpiece of the 2000s. If you're into some of the more, like, you know, buzz oven-y, grief, you know, kind of darker southern sludge metal from the 90s, yeah, Harvey Milk does some really, really cool stuff. And a complete 180 back to sort of clean vocal metalcore with Killswitch Engage as Daylight Dies. This is one of the first underground metal albums I ever heard. The first night I ever watched Headbangers Ball, they showed this, they showed Bury Your Dead, and they showed Between the Buried and Me. And that night fundamentally changed my course of life. Now, maybe I prefer End of Heartache a little bit, but this record has a much more nostalgic impact on me because of the way I discovered it and when I discovered it. This is from 2006. Howard Jones, one of the best metal vocalists of all time. It's such a shame that he's not with Killswitch anymore because all their new records are garbage. But the 3 records he did with Killswitch are so good. Well, at least the first 2. The third one's okay, but this and End of Heartache are both like metalcore masterpieces in my opinion. One of the most unique metal bands ever. This record blows me away every time. This is Liturgy with Aesthetica, a very polarizing band. They play a thing called transcendental black metal. You can read all about it if you'd like, but really what this is it's sort of music that's rooted in black metal, but it has elements of electronic music and math rock, and it is really just, again, unrelenting music. Intentionally obtuse, intentionally challenging. You really love it or you fucking hate it. And I love just about everything this band's ever done. The song, if I could recommend a song, so Returner was the single off of this. That'll give you a pretty good idea of what this band does. But the song Generation is one of my favorite instrumentals of all time. The track is fucking crazy. The pace at which that track is played is just monstrous. It's crazy. Master Puppets. Metallica sort of lingers always in the back of my mind. It's one of my favorite bands ever. I talk about all the time how it's so easy to take canon music for granted. Because we've heard it so many times, but when we put it back on the turntable, it's like, holy shit, does this record rock? So Metallica has been in my life forever. This has always been my favorite Metallica album. I think, this is sort of the Abbey Road of metal. This is the greatest metal album of all time. It's just perfect. 10 out of 10. No notes. Master of Puppets. I'm doing the thing that Ryan Dye really hates when I talk about that record. But, okay, another Chicago band. 2 more Chicago bands to talk about. Not Mistium. This is Assassins Part 1. This is one of those records I remember the exact time and place I heard it for the first time, and it blew my fucking mind just sitting in my bedroom at my mom's house listening to this and being like, what the fuck is this? They do psychedelic black metal. So if you're into the Atlas Moth, you might be into this as well. This album has a lot of direct references to the Pink Floyd album Metal. So it's sort of that mixed with black metal. There's a lot of experimental stuff on here that just absolutely rocks. Again, if you're into like psychedelic, prog, avant-garde music, and maybe not necessarily into metal, I would still recommend checking this album out. It is really, really, really good. And, controversies of Blake Judd aside, this album and this band will always mean so much to me. Pelican, What We All Come to Need, another one of my earliest stoner metal bands. This is more sludge, post-metal, it's all instrumental music. But again, just the first time I heard this band and this record, it was totally new stuff for my young Hesher brain to comprehend. And of course, I now have this very cool personal connection with this band as well now after working with them for the last year or so. But fan first, as they say. Always be a fan first, and this record is amazing. It's so cool. So, again, this is another one I would sell if you're not a metal fan. Listen to this, because there's no death metal growl vocals or anything. It's just very pretty instrumental music that's also very heavy. Whole band's catalog is great. They have a new album coming out very soon. Can't wait for it. Yeah, man, from 2009. It's a huge record for me. And capping off this volume, Venom, black metal. I read Lords of Chaos for the first time in 8th grade on a plane to Washington, D.C. And I learned all about Merciful Fate and Burzum and Beherit and Dark Throne and fucking Immortal and all these bands, and Venom included. And this has always been my favorite Venom album. I think it's one of the most important heavy metal albums of all time, and I feel like it still doesn't really get the stripes it deserves. Like people know Venom and people fuck with Venom, but like I feel like no one talks about how just crucial and amazing this album is, man. I just love it. I was so happy when Record Store Day did this sort of reissue campaign for them. Yeah, it's a picture disc, whatever, but it's fucking black metal. Like, it's not supposed to sound amazing, you know? And, you know, always be a special and important band to me, and I love bands that have these, like, crucial markers of roots in a genre, and of course, Venom absolutely has that with the album Black Metal. I'll be back tomorrow with more. Thanks. Goodbye.